conflict resolution through with nonviolent communication. And I'm going to start the intention of this webinar, just like we had also 1 week ago a webinar, and I also started it with the words of Dr. Marshall Rosenberg, who is the creator of nonviolent communication, or maybe better expressed, he developed nonviolent communication because he used to say that actually we are all creators, because according to him, it's our natural state to connect with others without violence, with empathy. So he said that conflict or tension of any kind can be a source of creative potential that that when cared for with awareness and compassion can lead to a greater closeness with others and a deeper understanding of ourselves. So sometimes in NVC we say that we want to shift from conflict to connection, and that we really want to be aware that conflict is actually a chance for us to connect. And how we can do it, I'm going to share with you during this webinar, and just let me connect with you also in the chat to see what are you ready. Yes, greetings from Uganda. Wow, yeah, Barcelona, Macedonia, wonderful. Czech Republic, Latvia, Turkey. Beautiful. Welcome, welcome. So this is me. I'm Paulina Orbitowska-Fernadez. As Sylvia said, I'm a certified trainer of nonviolent communication. I also work as a coach, as a mediator, and I support people who are in conflict, who need someone who will help them to hear each other in this conflict. And I am non-formal mediator. I don't want to be a formal one, as in Poland, at least it combines some of the approaches that I don't want to share. That's why I am mediator, but in a nonviolent communication approach. I also work as a certified trainer of EduScrum, and also as a resonant healing practitioner, which is an approach developed by Sarah Payton, and it's based on nonviolent communication and also on interpersonal neurobiology, and it is an approach that supports us to heal our wounds and traumas. I also work as a mind sonar analyst, and I support people who really want to understand what are their values and how do they want to fulfill their values, and if the ways are actually supporting them, and if not, what we can do with that. I also work as an academic teacher, and most of my time I support individuals, couples, teams, leaders, everyone, physicians, doctors, like everyone, like all the human beings in creating or taking care of our relationships that are based on trust, on empathy, on dialogue, on openness. And I work with different organizations, with NGOs. I really love supporting NGOs, but also public institutions, but also big businesses and healthcare and education. I am everywhere where people are, as I really love people. So that's about me, and this is our path, and it is a picture, and some of you actually are in this picture. I picked that because I didn't have your agreement whether I can use it during this webinar. That's why maybe you cannot recognize yourself, but if you were the one who was 3 weeks ago, a bit more than 3 weeks ago on that path, maybe you can actually recognize yourself in this picture. And I picked it because I want to share with you what is the path for this webinar, at least what are my hopes, and because we never know what will happen here. What I was thinking about is first to give you some space to think about your approach towards conflicts, your reaction towards conflicts, and the default ones, like if you think about conflict, how is your body reacting? What kind of thoughts do you have in your head? And then I'm going also to share with you a bit of different approaches to conflicts, 2 approaches, the domination and partnership culture, how we can look like, so that you can actually maybe recognize even some of your beliefs, some of your traits while you think about conflicts. And then I'm going to show you how we can use conflicts as a space for connection, as a chance for us to even building a better understanding between each other. And then also I'm going to invite you to think about your real life situation. So if you think about, oh yes, now I am in a conflict with someone, or I am not, and I am avoiding it, and I would like maybe to step into my authenticity, then you can use your own examples. I'm not going to invite you to share it out loud, so you can just be really boldly honest with yourself and write the notes for yourself. And afterwards, we are going to have some space for your questions, and I don't know if the answers will appear and where they are coming from. At least questions can be acknowledged, and I'm going to take them in and do my best to respond to them. So that's how we thought to navigate our time. We are going to have this like theoretical, or like the part that I'm going to talk a bit more until 7. So in 50 minutes, then we are going to have space for your questions. Though if you have some burning question, please write it in the chat and I'm going to go back to it. Or meanwhile, I really like reading chat, so sometimes I'm going to have a look and see what are you writing there. So it's an invitation for you to co-create this space. Yes, so conflict. If you think about conflict, probably you have some experiences of conflicts in your life. Now, what is your reaction? How do you react? What is happening for you when you think about conflict? You can think about your body sensations, if it is okay for you to think about your body sensations. How is your body reacting? You can maybe think about some thoughts, and maybe you can also think about your default way of reacting or responding to conflicts. Yes, hello from Bulgaria, Poland, Barcelona one more time, and Turkey. Yeah, so you can write in the chat if you want to share. Yes. Defense. Yeah, thank you, Natalie. Yeah. Escape. Yeah. Thank you, Eva. Shut down. Yeah, Sasha. Yeah. Defense also. Yes. Stress. Yeah. Yes, thank you for your answers. And now I put some of the pictures that can maybe visualize some ways that we habitually step into when we are in conflict. Maybe you don't recognize yourself here, and maybe yes. So I thought about sometimes when there is a conflict, we step into defense mode, we fight against. Sometimes as here, the probably football players, I'm not sure if it's football, or sometimes we go into the blaming mode. So we step into the conflict thinking who is to be blamed, and of course we don't want to be the one responsible, but sometimes we also blame ourselves. Yes, sometimes we just want to tap our eyes and not to see and avoid and just imagine that there are no conflicts at all. Sometimes we are scared and we escape. Sometimes we don't want to face the conflict and express ourselves honestly, and then we start gossiping, or people start gossiping. So we talk about the conflict, but not to the person with whom the conflict we have. So the gossip starts. And sometimes we put a mask on ourselves and try to avoid different emotions, different feelings. We are maybe scared of being really honest, so we pretend that there is nothing wrong, nothing happening. And sometimes we don't talk to each other. Yeah, so we have different ways of responding to conflicts. And why? And of course we have much more. Yes, I really want to acknowledge that we have also different ways, other ways to respond to conflicts. And why is it so? Why we perceive, some of us at least perceive stress, tension in our bodies. We become defensive. We get into blaming mode, or we pretend nothing is wrong, and that leads to toxic positivity sometimes. Why does that happen? It is because we humans, and maybe we all beings, are wired to connect. We really want to know that we are included, that we are part of some group, of some community. And exclusion is something really scary for us, as we are wired to connect. When we are connected to others, then our our bodies respond more fully. We are healthy, not only emotionally, but also physically and emotionally. That's what I wanted to say. And yes, exclusion is really scary for us. It is for our bodies, our brains actually absorb or recognize exclusion just as if it was a physical pain, physical harm done to us. So our brains don't actually recognize whether it is a physical harm or a social harm. And a researcher, a scientist, Naomi Eisenberger, called that phenomenon as social pain. That we really feel social pain when we are excluded or when we think that we are excluded. That is why sometimes we don't want to speak up. We don't want to step into the conflict with openness, with authenticity, or we become actually defensive, because when we feel pain, we also sometimes become defensive. Yeah, so that is one of the ways how I understand why we don't step into the conflicts with more courage and openness. And also toxic positivity, which is another term. I'm not sure who coined that. I read about toxic positivity in this book that you can see here, written by Whitney Goodman. When we dismiss emotions that we can perceive as negative, and in NVC we don't call them negative, but we sometimes people call it like negative emotions or a bit more difficult emotions. Yeah, so we put a mask that everything is okay. So now I'm quoting Susan Scott. I read the book really like many years ago, and I really enjoyed that. And oftentimes I come back to it. And she wrote that like, never be afraid of the conversations you are having. Be afraid of the conversations you are not having. Yes. So these are those that can bring us a lot of pain, actually. Yes. And so in her book, she was recommending or inviting us to really step into fierce conversations and cherish them. So here we have those two different approaches that I mentioned before at the very beginning of this webinar. Different approaches towards conflicts. And I put them here. It is actually, I'm quoting Liv Larson. I really recommend you the book. And at the very end of this webinar, I also listed some of the literature that can be maybe inspiring for you also. And one of it is a book of Liv Larson. And she was talking about two different approaches towards conflicts. And here you can actually find your beliefs, or maybe the beliefs of people that you work with, or you live with, or you share community with. So, or a neighborhood with. So in a hierarchical culture or domination culture, conflicts are being seen as something negative and bad. And when there is a conflict, then we need to avoid them. We must do everything to avoid them, or to finish them, to end them as fast as possible, as they are also a sign that someone has made a mistake, or sometimes even it is a sign that someone is bringing troubles, that there is something wrong with someone, because this person starts conflicts. Yeah, so it means that there is something wrong with that person. So we really want to control in this approach. Of course, we want to control that person, and maybe even find some ways to punish them for starting conflicts, like order and harmony generally in this approach will appear when we will defeat the opposing side. So this is this way of thinking that one is right, the other is wrong, one person is right, the other is wrong, and we need to defeat the opposite side. That's the approach towards conflict. And it also sometimes requires violence, maybe not physical, but verbal violence, punishment, yes, or any other form of coercion and pressure. Meanwhile, in partnership culture that we want to co-create in NVC, or not only NVC, we have another belief that conflicts are actually a natural part of life. and that they can be resolved in a constructive way, that they can bring us actually an opportunity to think about some creative solutions, solutions that are like out of the box, some people call it, and that conflicts arise where life flows. It is actually a symptom of the fact that we are alive and that we have dreams, that we have boundaries, that we take care of ourselves. That's why we have conflicts. And they can be enriching and helpful, especially while we navigate them using a win-win approach, in which we don't think about who is going to be to defeat or who I'm going to defeat, but about like we are all okay and we want to find a win-win solution for both of us. So now you can react somehow. I mean, you can always react, but it is an invitation for you to write in the chat. How do you respond to that? How do you read that? How do you hear it? Do you recognize somehow your beliefs or the beliefs of the people who you work with or live with? And you can actually even try to think about yourself. Where are you right now? Yes, or where would you like to be in the approach towards conflict? So it's an invitation for you to write. And yes, so we want to use the space of conflict for actually a connection with ourselves and connection with others. Let me read what's in the chat. I think partnership culture is pretty rare, at least in my culture. Yeah, yeah, I'm more on that. Yes. Will we receive a presentation after the webinar? I did not think about sharing the presentation. We will share the video with you. So if you want to take pictures, you can take pictures of it. So how can we use conflicts as a connection? How can we do it? I wanted to read what's in the chat. Yeah, thank you for asking, Marta, because maybe also other people were thinking about it. So how can we do it? So here we have one more time the words of Marshall Rosenberg. If we can express our feelings and needs without blame or judgment, we are more likely to resolve conflicts peacefully. So this is the way, this is the pathway to learn how to express our feelings and needs without blame. It's not that easy. Yes, it sounds simple, maybe. So there are two magic questions in nonviolent communication. One is, what is alive in me and you? So when we are stepping into a conflict, we really want to connect to our aliveness, which in NVC means our feelings and our needs, and sometimes even our thoughts. Yes, that we connect to our thoughts, that actually we really recognize that we are thinking, judging, evaluating, so we want to connect to that and to recognize it, to acknowledge it. And then feelings and needs. And then the second question is, okay, so when we know what are our feelings and needs, so now what can we do to make our lives more wonderful? So we step into wonder, from conflict to dilemma, to a wonder, like, so I'm wondering, what can we do right now? And now, how can we navigate our interpersonal conflicts? So now I would like to invite you to think about maybe your conflict. Maybe you have some conflict right now, or maybe it's not a conflict yet, and maybe you want to give some kind of feedback or express yourself honestly. Maybe someone did something that stirred some emotions in you. So think about such situation. You don't have to share so you can be really honest with yourself. Maybe if you like, you can also make notes. So first, what we do when we have interpersonal conflicts in NVC, first we recognize any judgments we have. Those of you who already know about the jackal and giraffe, which are like, giraffe is a symbol of the language of love, and jackal is a symbol of our tragic expression of our needs, as it's not actually connecting us too much with ourselves and others. So here sometimes saying that we try to recognize the jackal show that is happening in our head. So all the judgments that we have about another person, think if you're judging, blaming another person, their actions, the team, if you think about the team, the organization, if you think about some organization, the world, or maybe yourself. So first try to recognize all your thoughts, all your judgments, and you can write them and be really honest with yourself. And it is the first step to connect. And when you're ready, when you connect with your thoughts, now try to maybe, if it is possible for you, to connect with your body sensations, what is happening for your body. And after that, I'm going now to scroll, so please close your eyes if you don't like scrolling. Try now to connect to your feelings. I know it's a lot, and you are going to receive the list right now, maybe even if no, it's not that easy. But afterwards, I'm going to send you the link to the big list of feelings and needs.
I will do it in a moment.
Oh, thank you, Sylvia. Thank you so much. It's so helpful. Yeah. Okay, so think about your feelings. Think about that situation and your feelings. And if it is possible for you, maybe it's not enough time. I really want also to acknowledge it, that I'm maybe rushing too much. And now it's not very clear. I hope you are going to see it well. Maybe try to connect to your needs. What are your needs? Being unmet, probably. Oh yes, now you have the link to the feelings and needs list that you can download and you can always have with yourself somewhere. So which needs of yours are not met in that situation that you maybe thought about? And scrolling one more time, sorry for that. If you're ready, maybe now it's number 2. Maybe you can think about the potential thoughts of the person with whom you are in a conflict, or who did something and you are not really happy about what they did. Maybe it's not a conflict yet, but so think about potential thoughts. What could they think? And also maybe what do they feel? And we don't know unless you ask them. And still, even this exercise of thinking about their potential feelings and needs can be already helpful. So let me scroll one more time for the feelings. What do you think this person feels in that situation? And what do they need? What do you think? And you don't have to agree with them. It is okay that you don't agree. And if any kind of judgments appear in you right now about that person or life or the world, one more time go back to your feelings and needs. And you can, do that all the time, to go back to your feelings and needs. And then the last step would be, and the last step would be to use the NVC dynamics, and I'm going to invite you now to go through these 4 steps of nonviolent communication. To maybe you want to formulate your honest expression. Maybe you want really to say out loud your observations, feelings, needs, and requests. And then also you can use them in 3 directions. So that's what I'm going now to invite you to do. And please let me check what's in the chat. Yeah, well, I'm reading Damla, thank you. Sometimes we blame others more then we need to express our own thoughts. Yes, I am trying to understand your. I said yes, and at the same time, I'm not sure if I'm saying yes, because I need to maybe clarify a bit, Damla. Do you mean that when we blame, it is because we need to express our thoughts? That's what you mean? Am I correct? Yes, okay. Yeah, exactly. So maybe sometimes we need to express our thoughts and be careful, because sometimes the way how we will express them can hurt the other person. So depending with whom you are talking, if this person is really willing to hear the thoughts, and you also say it out loud, these are my thoughts, and I don't believe them, but these are my thoughts. So maybe it is okay. And if the other person, if you feel a bit concerned about the way how they are going to respond to that, it's easier than maybe to formulate, to express in the 4 steps, in observations, feelings, needs, and requests. It can be easier for the other person to receive it. I'm wondering, how do you respond to that? Does it make sense to you what I said? And let me check if I got you, Namla. Yeah, thank you. Yes, so that's where we want to be in NVC. We want to be in this place of this win-win. So the needs of both of us are being at least taken under consideration. Yeah, sometimes not fulfilled, but at least we take them under consideration. So that's where we aim. So we aim this kind of relationship where we share the power. We call it power with relationships. So the 4 steps. So now you can come back to your situation, or maybe you can pick up another one, or you just like, oh, now you have something, because before you didn't, nothing appeared to you. So if you have some situation, if you also don't have a situation, no worries, you can just, listen to the theory, and maybe at some step you will somehow connect to some of your memories. Yeah, hello, Abderrahim. Yes. So, what are the observations? In NVC, observations are, we say that these are the facts. I don't know if only in NVC. Observations, at least for me, these are the facts that are describing what has happened, what someone did or said, and also the facts are about what I am telling myself. Yes? About what happened. This is seeing the things as they are, like the camera would record it. So it is also the quotation, and sometimes we mix it, and then there is a risk when we mix it that we will have more misunderstandings, and the conflict is going to really erupt if instead of observations we actually share our thoughts, judgments about the situation or a person. When we are labeling, when we are using interpretations, analyzing, deciding who is right, what should or shouldn't be done, who should we blame for it. So this is the first chance that we have to connect with the other person, also to connect with ourselves, to use the observation language. And so now let's practice a bit, maybe, if you would like to. Let's have a look at those sentences. It's an invitation for you to have a look at those sentences and think whether they are observation or interpretations. So number 1, I can never count on you. It's an observation for you or interpretation? And you can write it down. Interpretation, yeah. Yeah, thank you. Well, number 2, you're irreplaceable for the team. It's an observation or an interpretation? Yeah, interpretation, yeah. Thank you, yes. Okay, you agreed to send me the pictures till last Friday. Today is Tuesday and I haven't received any pictures yet. Observation or interpretation? Yes, you have it. Great. Okay. So we practiced a bit. And so now think about your situation and try to write your observations. You can already write them, if you want, of course, in this way as if you wanted to express yourself, like, oh, when I heard you saying, or when I remember you did or this or that. Yeah, so try to write them down, the pure observations. And from there, from the observations, if you want also us to read them, to check them, and to give you some feedback, please, you can also do it. So we have an observation when we hear something, when we see something. Whenever you're using interpretation, I'm still coming back here, the other person can hear it as criticism. That is why the other person will react, or it's a risk, not necessarily, but it is a risk that the other person will react with their defensiveness. That is why it is so important to write observations, because this is the place where we can all agree to the facts. That's how you're building the platform for understanding. You're building the connection with another person. That is why we are sharing the observations, so that we give each other a chance to connect. Okay, and another chance, another step. When we express our observations, then we go into our feelings. We express our emotions, of course, if we feel safe enough to express, because in some situations maybe we don't feel safe enough to express our emotions. What is important is to acknowledge them, is to name them. And if it is also possible for you, you can also go through your body sensations. So first you can name your body sensations, and then from the body sensations go into the feelings. And what are feelings? Feelings are actually sensations coming from our body, and they are pointing us to our needs, met or unmet. That's why in NVC we don't call the feelings or emotions as negative or positive, because it can be a risk that if we name them as negative, we won't acknowledge them. We won't have an access to some of the emotions, such as most popular one with denied access to is anger, for example, yes, or sadness. So this is very important to acknowledge, even for only ourselves, and this is actually calming, supporting us to calm our nervous system down. And then, because they point us to our needs, so we go from the feeling to the needs. So we say like, oh, I feel angry because I need support, for example. And sometimes where the risk comes and conflicts appear is because we think that we express our feelings, but we don't do that. We express actually our thoughts, one more time, our interpretations. And we call such expressions false feelings in NVC, which are here, for example. When we say like, oh, I feel ignored, it is not a feeling actually, because if I say I feel ignored, it means that you ignore me. So I interpret your action as on purpose ignoring me. And when I express myself in this way, actually I can contribute to your defensiveness and to conflicts. So in NVC, we really want to express with our feelings, with our real emotions, because this is something that we can connect with the other person. So be careful when you're expressing yourself not to use such expressions that we call false feelings, or expressions as if like, oh, I feel that you don't tell me the whole truth, or I feel as if you lied to me, or, you know, so these are not feelings, yes, and they sound as feelings. So if you really want to have a chance to connect and to also express yourself honestly, connect to your emotions. And here you have, one more time, the list of the emotions, and think about your situation and try to connect. Even if you're not going to express them to another person, it is already valuable for you to name them. So think about your emotions. How do you feel in that situation? And under all of our emotions, there are some beautiful needs that want to be met. And that's why our bodies are like sending us those emotions, because they want us to be really, to take care of the needs. They want us to stop for a while and acknowledge the needs that are not met, or met sometimes, and we are more in the celebration mode. So what are the needs? These are like our inner energy that actually drives us. Some people say like, this is what motivates us. And needs are universal. They are the same for everyone in the whole world, regardless the place where we were born, where we live, how old we are, the color of our skin, the amount of money that we have on our accounts, and if we have accounts, bank accounts, regardless any kind of differences between us, we all humans, and maybe not only humans, we all beings share the same needs. This is where we can all connect, we can all understand each other, because we all have the need for understanding, a need for belonging, a need for trust. This is where we can all understand each other. And when we express ourselves with needs instead of our thoughts and our interpretations, then we are supporting the other person actually to hear us, to connect to us. And there is no concrete person or action attached to it. So it is something really universal. And sometimes we express ourselves with concrete action. So I need you to pick up the potatoes from the grocery store, or I need you to be more quiet. So this is not a need. This is a particular action, and when we express ourselves in this way, somehow we are making a demand to others, and that's why people then get rebellious. They defend themselves, and then they don't connect with us, or it's a risk that they won't connect with us. So now think about your situation one more time and try to connect to your needs. Try to connect what is underlying your feelings, your emotions. What are those precious gifts that your body is giving you through the emotions? Okay, and now let's practice a bit. Maybe you would like to be invited. Let's see. So, what do you think? Here I put some of the difficult messages, like maybe not always it's difficult, but it's an invitation for you to think about the needs that are lying behind those sentences. And I will read the sentence and we will go back to the list. Maybe it's going to be a bit easier. So think about the first one. You don't know how to listen. Think about, what are my needs when I say that? What do you think? With this sentence, I am trying to fulfill some of my need. What do you think? What need would that be? You don't know how to listen. What do you think? What I am actually trying to convey through my sentence? What do I need if I say, you don't know how to listen? And it's an invitation for you to write in the chat, if you want, of course. Yeah, someone to understand, a quieter place, yes, yes, to be understood, yes, presence, harmony, yeah, exactly, yeah. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for also for writing. My need for connection is now being met, and some kind of feedback also, yeah. Thank you. Closeness, yeah, sure. Yes, so let's have another go. Number 2, this discussion is pointless. What do you think? What are the needs behind this sentence? This discussion is pointless. What do I need if I say something like that? Any guesses? Meaning, yeah, might be, sure. Thank you, Natalie. Yeah. Maybe some efficacy, yeah. Sharing, clarity, yes, yeah, thank you so much. Understanding, yes, purpose, yeah, sure. Thank you so much, yes. So as you can see behind all the sentences, there are stimulation, yes, safety, yes, can be different, yes, sure. Behind, that's what we say in NVC, that behind all the words that we are saying, there are some beautiful needs, because look at them. They are all so beautiful. Okay, so the last step is a request. So a request is something clear and concrete. So in a request, we state what, who, where, when, and how. So it's really clear, really tangible. So the other person can really understand what I am requesting from them. It's something really concrete. It's something also doable. Yes, so possible for the other person to do. Like if I say, then I will give you some example. So it's also expressed in present time. So it's not like a wishful thinking somewhere, somehow. It is formulated in a positive language, what we want instead of what we don't want. As Marshall used to say, people can't do don'ts. So it's good to formulate like, what do I want the other person to do instead of what I don't want them to do. And also we can check, what did the interlocutor, the other person, hear from us? And we need to state our intention for clarity. So I really want to check whether we are on the same page. So would you be willing to say what you heard me saying? And be careful, because sometimes instead of making requests, we are making demands. Demands are expressions where we are using guilt and shame inducing language to achieve what we want to achieve. So sometimes they can even sound as if it was actually a request, but you know that there is this flavor of guilt or shame there, or suggesting the other person that there is no choice. And why we do that in NVC, it is because we people, we humans, really love contributing to other people's needs when we have a choice. We really cherish our freedom. We really cherish our choice. When we don't have a choice, then that's where conflicts start, because we become defensive, or we are quiet, we don't respond, but afterwards, maybe there will be some kind of resentment and a starting point for the conflict. So this is how we distinguish between those. And yes, let's have a look here. Request or wishful thinking? What do you think? How would you name that? Number one, could you please be more collaborative? Is it a real request, something tangible, or it's my wishful thinking? What do you think? Sorry. Oh, thank you, Magdalena, for saying that. Yes, wishful thinking. Yes, Natalie, exactly. Yeah. Yes, how about number two? Could you please prepare the report for next Tuesday, including all the requirements listed in the minutes from the last meeting? What do you think? A request or wishful thinking? Request, yes, I was trying to do my best. Yeah, thank you. Number three, don't take it too personally. Yeah, wishful thinking. Okay, so we have it. Okay, so now formulate your request. Think about your situation, and I'm going back to this like definition. What is a request? Think about it. Is it clear, concrete? Do you agree for a no of another person? Do they have a choice? Is it doable? Expressed in present time? Positive in formulated in positive language? And think. Try to maybe write it somewhere. Okay, so now when you have the 4 steps, now you can use them in those 3 directions. So the first direction is this self-empathy. Self-empathy, it is when we are connecting to our observations, our feelings, our needs, and then we make our request, and it can be to ourselves or it can be to someone else. So this is what you did right now, probably, yes, while you were, if you were, of course, using some of your example and thinking about some of your real life situation. And also, we can use the 4 steps while we are receiving someone else with empathy. So, for example, I can say like, oh, so when you hear me saying this discussion is pointless, do you feel disappointed? Because maybe your need for understanding is not being met. Could you tell me if I understood you correctly? Is it that? So I now use the 4 steps, as you could see, the observations, feelings, needs, and request, while I was trying to understand the other person. And also we can use the 4 steps while we are expressing ourselves with honesty. So I can say like, yeah, so when we are here for 1 hour and we still don't have a solution, I feel really angry and irritated, as I need some purpose, some meaning. Would you be willing now to propose at least 3 solutions, and then we can figure it out how we are going to do it? Yeah, so that's how you can use the 4 steps while you're expressing yourself with honesty, so you can navigate them. What is important is actually to be really aware. Sometimes we are not expressing ourselves in the 4 steps because it sounds a bit like not for us natural, and we want to be really authentic and be ourselves when we express. What is here important is like to bear in our mind, are you sharing thoughts or you're sharing observations? And when you're sharing thoughts and interpretations and evaluations, you're risking the defensiveness, the react or withdrawal of the other person. Then when you're expressing your emotions, your feelings, are you expressing your real emotions or feelings, or one more time your thoughts, so-called false feelings? And when you talk about needs, are you expressing your needs, or you're expressing actually some strategies, something that is not that easy for others to connect with? And are you expressing with requests? Are you making requests, or you're, only like making demands or some wishful thinking, like not being really clear for others? Okay, so it was quite a lot, at least that's my interpretation. And I want to pause, and still we have like 8 minutes, so then as you can see that there is some other bits. So if you will have questions, that's why I'm expressing myself, then we will have time, yes, in still 8 minutes. So then it was about our interpersonal conflicts, and when we want to support others when they have conflict, what can we do? So one more time, when there is a conflict between 2 people, first we put all the cards on the table. So what are the observations? What happened? And then the next step, how we can do it, is to see the people who are involved in the conflict as humans. So this means here for me, we are trying to understand their feelings, needs, and dreams, even if they're saying difficult things, such as there is no point in talking to you, or you're such a naive person. So we are trying to see what are the feelings and the needs behind that sentence. So you can also do it in the 4th step, or the way how we propose in Nonviolent. I'm wondering, are you feeling irritated as maybe your need for connection is not being met? So when you support others when they have conflict, you're the one to try to understand their feelings and needs and translate whatever is being said into the feelings and needs mode. And then at the very end, when you do it, you try to create a clear picture. What the people who are involved want to happen. So now then they make requests. And already you have the formula how to make requests. So that's how we support others. And maybe some of the tips, if you already think about supporting others or you already did it, in NVC at least the aim is to build connection, not even to find a solution. This is not the most important. The most important why we are supporting others in conflict is to help them to hear each other. That's the thing that you're trying to do, to connect, to restore the connection. Then you follow what is happening and be aware of where you are in the process. And remember, you will not provide help if you're thinking about doing that, if you judge yourself or others, if you blame yourself or others, if you label some of the, if you moralize or look for who is right and wrong, if you compare yourself or others. And when you're helping others and you feel angry or irritation, then take breath and direct then your attention to yourself. Otherwise, you are not going to be able to support. And here are different tools that we use while we are supporting people. It's self-empathy, it's empathy gases, so asking about feelings and needs, connection requests, so the requests that help people to connect with each other, some solution requests when we interrupt when it's needed, we give to people empathy, we also paraphrase and we reflect back. And the most important skill you need or tool you need while you are navigating the conflicts is to translate whatever you hear into feelings and needs. This is the most important. That's why now you have the lists of feelings and needs and you can do it. So the most important is to connect before you correct. And now this is actually the end. So I wanted to finish with the words of Marshall Rosenberg. He said that peace requires something far more difficult than revenge or merely turning the other cheek. It requires empathizing with the fears and unmet needs that provide the impetus for people to attack each other. So now, before we will open the space for questions and maybe answers, this is what you can read while you want to learn more about conflicts and nonviolent communication. That's why it's in giraffish language, which is the symbol, the giraffe is the symbol of language of life. So first of all, Marshall Rosenberg's book, Speak Peace in a World of Conflict. Liv Larson book, A Helping Hand Mediation with Nonviolent Communication. John Kenyon and Ike Lasseter, Mediate Your Life. Mickey Cashton, The Highest Common Denomination Using Convergent Facilitation to Reach Breakthrough Collaborative Decisions. Wow, what a name. And also you can learn more about restorative circles developed by Dominic Barter. So maybe you want to take a screenshot of that. And I just wanted to give the merit to Letter C for today's webinar. It's sponsored by the Letter C for conflict. So when we are navigating conflict, we step into courage, care. It's about communication, collaboration, creativity, curiosity, community, culture, feedback, compassion, confidence, competence, and maybe you want to add some other words that start with letter C. Yes, so now maybe questions, if you have any questions.